New at Parenting Podcast, episode number 1. I'm sitting here with my wife.
Yeah, your wife.
That's what we are?
Yeah, I think so. Last time I checked.
I ask you sometimes that question. Like, that's what we are, right? Like we're dating or something?
Yeah, I mean, roommates for sure.
Roomies?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, what's up, roomie?
What's up?
How do you feel about... We tried doing a podcast before, but it was out of focus.
Yeah.
It didn't really turn out that great.
Yeah.
So this is our debut public podcast.
Doing it right the second time.
Public podcast, Cherry. How do you feel about that?
Like my marriages.
What's that?
Doing it right the second time, like my marriages.
Is this true? I mean, I am your second marriage. How do you feel about that?
I love it.
Cool. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for this podcast. I'm excited to start this journey. Obviously, you're pregnant by looking at you. There's
just a little bit.
There's one of me growing in you.
A little gremlin.
Yeah, so that's what this podcast is really going to be about, is our experience as parents.
Yep.
And obviously, the viewers get a lot of me talking. So looking forward into this, we're going to keep these short and sweet. So some of these are going to get chopped up and most likely be about 10 to 12 minutes. And the purpose of this podcast is you can watch this if you need a nap or if your kid's taking a nap. But this is the New at Parenting Podcast. So overall, just briefly, what is our mission here on the NAP podcast? Our
mission is to just share everything related to pregnancy, parenting, birth, consciousness, because I fell into the category of people who used to be scared of having kids. And over the last several years, that has shifted into realizing, which I made a post about it a day or two ago, and meeting you has also changed my perspective that raising children in consciousness is how we solve a lot of the world's problems today. And the more that we can share as we experience that, the more hopefully others will join and do the same.
Right.
So
I'm excited. New at Parenting Podcast. We're going to start this journey. Pretty soon we're going to have a little one. We're about 8 weeks away.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've gone through some pregnancy. We're not going to deep dive into all of that in the beginning, but we just wanted to really do more of an introductory podcast of what we're going to be sharing. And we got cats running around the house, and that's what marriage and love does, is makes me now be a cat dad.
Yeah.
I'm a cat daddy.
You're an everything daddy.
What's that?
Everything daddy.
Yeah, I'm about to be a father. I've been a daddy my whole life, but a father now as I enter this new realm, a new stage of my life. And what a blessing that it truly is to be on this journey with you. And I've shared a lot of that with many people across the different platforms that tune into my different podcasts, and it's cool to finally have you in a position where we can now chat about our life and our love and our responsibilities as parents.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for this journey. I even it happened just this morning where someone was like, it really did happen fast, didn't it? And I didn't think twice about it, because everything has been in divine timing and meant to be, as cliche as everyone can say that is. But
definitely. So I'm going to ask just a couple questions.
All right.
And so the first question being is, I feel it's on the forefront of everybody's mind, is I've watched this or just heard a statistic. I just heard a statistic saying that in 1900, there was a 100% ratio or rate of births in a home. And in today's society, that in 122 years, that has gone skewed the opposite, almost nearly on the other end of the pendulum, with less than 1% of births happening in the house, in the home. So before this, obviously you didn't want children and maybe were scared of birth. What has inspired you as a mom, and just as a woman in general, before becoming a mom rather, to have the urge and the inspiration and courage to birth your child in a home setting?
Honestly, I think a big part of it was COVID, because that was an overall awakening to the way the system is not set up in our favor, and the way that everything we think we know are things we can trust, doctors, the government, stuff that's supposed to work for us, is in fact not. So when I had that first awakening, that's what led the domino of what else in my life would that apply to. And then the idea of raising kids came up, and we were pregnant first in March, even though we miscarried. Even then, I immediately knew, okay, I don't know anything about this. I want to know as much as possible, and I already know that things that I would assume I can trust, I shouldn't blindly trust. And that just then spawned anything and everything I could read and just down the rabbit hole I go, because it's one of those, it's the domino effect. As soon as I learned like one critical piece of information, it led me to 3 other questions, and then those 3 led to 3 more each, and just kept going. And what's crazy about the statistic that you just said about how home birth went from 195% to 1%, that's only for the US, the supposed, leader of the free world and supposed to be one of the more civilized societies. And yet we have the highest mortality rates for birth in women in hospitals, and we have the highest C-section rates. So it's kind of daunting when you finally see the numbers on what birth has become.
Unraveling the truth, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as you've unraveled the truth about many other aspects of the world, that's really led you down a path of arriving where you're at in terms of bringing in a child at your home naturally, as if God willing, of course. And I think a lot of the world is laden in fear, and I feel that fear runs the world, and the trauma-based mind control that runs the world operates on fear, and the system ultimately controls us on our fears.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of fears associated with birthing. So maybe chat just briefly about some of the fears that society and the social norms have put on the experience of birthing, and then maybe chat about the actual reality of the situation.
Yeah. I would say there's multiple avenues to it. There's not only the medical side effects and interventions that can come along with birth, as far as the pain that they show in movies and televisions when they're showing birth, and they show women screaming and writhing in pain in hospitals. There's that aspect that's fed to girls from such a young age, which also ties into the insecurities of bodily image that girls face their whole life. So like one of my biggest fears that I had when I was in like high school, old enough to start even consider kids and what that would look like, was I don't want this big belly. Like, I don't want stretch marks, all of these very superficial fears of, I don't want my body to change. Like, I'm selfish. Like, your body doesn't go back. And a lot of that is fed from, like you said, fear of the system. And a lot of it's artificial, because a lot of women don't get stretch marks. A lot of women, even if they have a C-section, their scar is barely visible, but you don't hear those. You hear the, oh my God, like I'll never be the same, which is true in an aspect, but the mindset shift causes you to be excited about it. So I had those superficial fears of like my body actually changing, and then also just there's a laundry list of things they feed you as far as like what birth can do. So, and a lot of it's framed as humor, as a way to be like passive aggressive about it. So the joke of how like, oh, once you're a mom, you'll never sneeze without peeing again. And like, you'll have saggy boobs if you choose to breastfeed, which then feeds the narrative of, oh, be selfish, keep your figure, and formula feed your child, even though that's not what's best for them. It's one of those things where you have to look the fear in the face, and you have to say like, I'm not going to choose to be, that's not going to be my story. I'm not going to let that control what I do, especially when you see that the fear is holding you back from doing what actually is best for you and for your baby. And I feel like that's something that I never could have imagined, is that next level of, once I knew that little Bean was in here, my whole mentality shifted, where every decision wasn't just for me anymore. There was always the secondary, like, okay, yeah, I'm fearful of this because of me, but what does that mean for baby? And having that second line of questioning makes my fear of things like overridden by the benefit for them. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I feel if you have a mind shift change in terms of saying these are all the great things and these are all the beautiful blessings that are being provided, and this is what's required to pay the price of birth, of being a mother, and what an honor and a privilege it is to be in that position to bring in new life into the world. And looking at it as, yeah, you earned your stripes, you absolutely did. I mean, you're bringing in life into the world, and there's definitely nothing to be ashamed of in terms of bodily image, etc. And so society has put such pressure on maintaining a specific bodily image where it's completely unreachable and unattainable. It's one of those scenarios and situations that having a baby and birthing your child is truly an honor and a blessing. And as your husband and as the father of the child, I am incredibly blessed to be in this position. Once again, as you are the vessel of this consciousness between us two, as our souls have united, and how honored I am to even have the opportunity to do that and to step forth in this position of responsibility as we step into a whole new journey as parents together, as we are new at parenting. So with that, we're gonna wrap up today's podcast. But Jordan, if you were to just leave something to be excited about or what to look forward to, what would you say?
Playing off of what you just said, as far as like it's our souls joining in this new adventure, I'm excited to see what little bundle of joy, terror, mischief that our child comes out. And most importantly, just remembering that every day is their first experience of life, and every time something might be annoying for us, it's new for them, and that it's the beauty of that makes parenthood so special.
My patience will be something that is delivered with grace, and I'm looking forward to that. There's going to be a lot of laughs, a lot of blessings, a lot of lessons, a lot of growth. We're looking forward to sharing that journey with everyone out there at the New at Parenting podcast. Be sure to check out our podcasts here now, as well as those that are in the future. Check us out on TikTok, as well as on our Instagram. We're going to be sharing just our experience as parents, as well as I'm going to be sharing some conscious insight as to parenting children, as I am a certified breakthrough addiction and trauma coach, and how to break the cycle, stepping into a new position in your world to bringing in new life, and how to break that bond and that cycle that's been passed from generation to generation to generation, where it can end with you, because ultimately we have the power to change. And once we step into our power, our truth, and become ambassadors of change, we're going to begin to see the world around us change. So with that being said, please like, share, subscribe, and comment below if this delivered some value to you, as well as let us know what topics you'd like to speak about in the future.
Yep. Excited for more to come.